Hello everyone, this is Adelaide Eternal, you're with Sava McClinton bringing you another Highlander deck tech. This time we're looking at Dark Bant. So Dark Bant is essentially a fusion between a value mid-range deck and a control deck. Now, the control elements are very soft. So we have Miscalculation, which is not only a counterspell, but cycles, which is very important for a value deck to be able to maintain its value plan. And Evasive Action, which is like a really good mana leak. In a 4-color deck, this is basically mana leak for 4 instead of 3 extra mana. Counterspell, also fantastic. Daze, really good to keep you on tempo. Mental Misstep keeps you on tempo as well. And the powerhouse Brainstorm. So why do you play blue in a Highlander format? Well, it's because you get to play Brainstorm. You can shuffle away off a fetch those bad cards that are bad late in the game, like Daze. And you also have the other great blue cards, Vendillion Clique, which is obviously a 3-1 beater with evasion, but most importantly, True Name Nemesis. So this has the best evasion you can think of, and it's really, really good at holding equipment. So let's look at the value plan of the deck. Stoneforge Mystic, obviously one of the key value creatures that you can play in pretty much any format. It finds us cards like Umezawa's Jitte, which basically opposing creature-based decks cannot beat once it connects once. Sword of Fire and Ice, which is an incredibly fast clock because the damage it deals and the cards that it fuels you into will be really hard for any deck to beat, but especially Control. Control has a nightmare thinking about this. And Batterskull, dropping this off your Stoneforge Mystic early on against Control is really good because it forces them to have an answer. If they don't have the answer to the Batterskull, then you're going to win that game. The most important card, though, is Skull Clamp. This is a whole 2 points in Highlander, and it's really, really important to be able to find this card if you want to win the value game. If your opponent is also on a value plan, then if you can clamp your way through, you're going to win the value race. You need to identify what your role is in any kind of matchup, whether you have time to start clamping and drawing cards, or whether you need to press for the advantage. So you need to know whether or not Stoneforge Mystic should find Clamp, or Jitte, or Sophie, or in some rare cases, Batterskull early in the game. Now, the recent change, and you'll notice that this deck is 61 cards in the main deck, the recent change is Steelshaper's Gift. It's come down to 0 points, so I expect to see a resurgence in this deck. Even though this deck has been notoriously the best deck in the format for some time, it had fallen out of favour to some degree, and other decks with a better value plan, like the Yidris 4-color grindy decks, and better combo decks that can power their way through soft permission, have really come to the forefront. But now with Steelshaper's Gift down at 0 points, we're allowed to play 1 point in Stoneforge, 0 in Steelshaper's Gift, and 2 in Skull Clamp to consistently find our Skull Clamp every game when we need it. The other cards in the deck are obviously the glue that hold it together, the Mana Dorks. So all of these Mana Dorks are there to power out a nice either 3-drop on turn 2, like Vendillion Clique or True Name Nemesis, or an Aven Mindcensor to catch one of their lands, or a Lingering Souls first half of the card, Reclamation Sage to kill an artifact against the Built from Scrap type decks, or hold open mana for a Spell Queller, which really gives you insane tempo. But some of these mana dorks do more things. So Deathrite Shaman in the late game is like a 1-mana Planeswalker. If you're familiar with it in Legacy, it's just as powerful in Highlander. Noble Hierarch as well, allowing you to have Exalted, which, coupled with Qasali Pridemage, push your creatures through your opponent's creatures. Really good in the creature-based mirrors. The other good things about the deck are obviously some of the best removal spells in the formats, Path to Exile and Swords to Plowshares, and Council's Judgment, which is easily interchangeable with cards like Bant Charm as well in the 3-drop slot, but Council's Judgment is pretty much your one main answer to an opposing True Name Nemesis. Now, the 61 cards I mentioned before is because of this point drop here. We really want to fit Birthing Pod into this deck. So Birthing Pod used to be in the deck, and it's often kind of splish-splashed around between playing Pod and playing Gift. Now you don't have to choose between the two of them. So I've left it at 61 cards. It's for you to experiment a little bit, decide which other card you want to cut in this deck, but I think the meta will establish itself over the course of time and tell us which other card we're going to cut in favour of both these two cards. Now, the question becomes, why is it dark? So Dark Bant splashes black because we have Leovold Emissary of Trest, which was one of these powerful cards against control. Really great to have main deck hate against control. You don't have to run a Thrun, you get to run Leovold. Siege Rhino is amazing. It really finishes games off quick, especially coupled with a Restoration Angel or a Flying Rhino over the head with +1 activation from Elspeth, or holding a Sword of Fire and Ice because you get to trample over and activate the triggered ability on it. And the other aspect of the Dark is the exiling instants and sorceries to drain 2 life. So it's really like having a little sulfuric vortex that deals them 2 damage every turn. The land base is pretty straightforward, and it includes 1 Dryad Arbor because it's really nice to fetch off one of these green fetch lands, but also you can use Green Sun Zenith for 0 when you don't have a Mana Dork in your opening hand. Titania is in every green deck. She really doesn't need any more of a mention. She's insane, a one-man army. Now, the other reason that we have black in this deck is because we've got great sideboard cards. So Inquisition, Duress, and Thoughtseize, the DITS package, are really good to bring in against control. So this pile here is what you generally bring in against control. Flusterstorm is great at winning counter wars when you've got soft permission. And Sylvan Library really gets you pure card advantage, along with Painful Truths. So Painful Truths is in your against the creature and value cards that come in. So when you're against creatures, you're usually against artifacts and equipment. So Grip of Phyresis lets you steal their Skull Clamp. It's kind of like a removal spell for a Skull Clamp that draws you 2 cards. Whoever thought Divination could be so good? And then we have Zealous Persecution and Oars of Pontiff, fantastic at clearing away your opponent's mana dorks in that mid-range matchup. And also, sometimes it just allows you to press advantage or win in combat. Last of all, we have our niche cards. So these are brought in against things like Storm, Built from Scrap, other powerful combo-based decks. Nullrod and Stony Silence are amazing. Mindbreak Trap and Kumbal are fantastic against the Storm decks. And Fairy Macabre is a really good way to shore up your anti-reanimator strategy. So the other upside of it is, unlike your Tormod's Crypt, this one is free, but later on in the game it can hold an equipment, which is often very important. So if you like this deck, sleeve it up, have a go. I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy it. It's got so many different attack strategies and it's very powerful. Thanks for watching. We're Adelaide Eternal.